Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of What If Civilization Started Over. We're going to get right into this one because a lot of things just collapsed and are going to need to be put back together. Specifically, a bunch of new states that got created. Essentially, a lot of new states that got created after the fall of West Africa then themselves collapsed. And so a lot of new countries are going to pop out of this. And we're going to spend most of the episode focusing. This is going to be kind of a unique episode because we're not actually covering that much time. Actually, we are. This episode starts in the year 1325, and I want to end it in the year 1392. So we're covering, actually, 67 years. Haha. We're covering 67 years of history, but it's going to be a very peaceful 67 years. Some stuff will happen throughout the rest of the world, but it's mostly going to focus on the Middle East, because that's where the majority of stuff is going to happen, as well as maybe a bit of expansion. But anyway, Turkey is the first place we have to look at, because there's kind of three main regions of Turkey. So there's the Red Country in the west, and basically none of these are like ideological things or cultural things, since the previous Turkish government made sure that it was one unified culture, and everyone here kind of just wants a monarchy. So there's basically just three different kings. There's the western one, the northeastern country / king, and there's the southern king who also controls Cyprus. Turkey basically gets divided into three, but it's not going to just stay divided. Instead, there's going to be a civil war to see which government takes over Turkey. These are all monarchies, so it really isn't going to matter too much who takes over Turkey, but it's still interesting to see. So, yeah, the purple country actually will matter. I'll explain. So it's going to start mattering as this war goes on. So the purple country is going to immediately start, basically, the northern country and the western country are immediately going to start attacking the southern country, which sucks. And so, however, western Turkey immediately betrays Ankara. I'm going to call this guy Ankara because that is where it is. And so western Turkey is immediately going to betray Ankara and start attacking them as well, forcing Ankara to withdraw from southern Turkey, as southern Turkey makes an agreement with western Turkey that they'll divide up Ankara and then hopefully fight each other. And Russia will start their own invasion of Ankara. They decided to take a lot of land for themselves after fall of West Africa. And at this point, Ankara is kind of cooked, as they are being invaded from three sides. But also, Western Turkey has actually honored their agreement with Southern Turkey and withdrawn. And it's not actually because they're so nice, it's just because they didn't really want to waste troops on a fight that wasn't on a front that wasn't fighting yet. But we will see that Ankara will completely be destroyed. However, Western Turkey then makes the decision to go ahead and invade into Russian territory, which is crazy because this is not even a country. Like, it's a faction in a civil war. But they will instruct Southern Turkey, if you don't want to get invaded, you will also invade into Russia. And so now it's kind of a united front of the Turks trying to take back their land from Russia. And Russia's a ridiculously powerful country. In fact, they are the most powerful country in the world by a very large amount. I think Rome might be the second most powerful country. Actually, it's probably Pakistan. You see, it's not even, like, it's so not close that it's hard to tell who the next most powerful country is. But anyway, Russia will successfully be kicked out of Turkey, as both of these countries will sign a treaty officially dividing up this land between them. But Russia is not just going to let this happen. They're instead going to start invasions of both of these countries. And now Turkey basically tells the enemies of Russia, hey, it's the perfect time to invade into Russia if you want to. And for now, no one's going to bite, but Mesopotamia would love to, but they're currently busy with something on south. So let's actually pause on this and go to the Arabian War. Despite the fact that these were two separate countries, there's basically going to be one civil war between them, as whatever happens, it's probably going to unite into one country. There's a government that's like not the old government of Oman, nor the new restored government of Oman that instantly collapsed, but it is an Omani government that kind of wants to just recreate the old state of Oman and kind of just restore things to the way they were. And so I'm going to color it the old color, and it's mostly, like, Oman is mostly intact, and their capital will be here this time. However, they actually have more land than the original Oman had, and that's going to anger some of the other countries, which is why Oman ends up getting entangled into this. Despite the monarchy collapse, they just make a new theocratic government. And I'll put ideologies in after this episode is over. First, there's a government in Qatar that kind of controls the east because there's no other government anywhere nearby. It also controls Bahrain. Then there's a government in the southwest that actually has a majority of the government, including, I believe, the old capital. This bright green government over here in the east. Government halfway between orange and brown, I'll say caramel colored, over here. And unlike Oman, these guys are not going to have capitals because they're all fighting a civil war with each other. And ideology-wise, most of them want to be theocracies. The northwestern one wants to be a monarchy, though. The other three want to be theocracies and kind of restore the old government and become the old government. But Mesopotamia will immediately start disrupting this as they kind of take advantage of the chaos, as you might expect they would do, and start invading into both of the northern countries. And the northern countries decided to put aside their differences for now to fight against Mesopotamia, but they're still weaker and are still losing, so they ask the southern countries for help. But the southern countries are like, we're okay ruling a smaller Arabia, as they are like in the middle of fighting each other, and actually the eastern one is winning. But they also start invading into the northern states. And so for now, Oman's not involved in this, but they will be shortly. As the monarchist state seems to be the first to fall, but it does have an advantage, which is that it is the monarchist state. And so a large number of people here want a monarchy, like in the West, and specifically the Southwest. Those people want a monarchy. And so the monarch will basically flee over here and basically regroup and just take a bunch of land from the southwestern country. And that'll give him enough motivation that his army will be able to these cities, because they kind of believe that they're like divine, they have a divine right. So really it's the northeastern country that's getting absolutely creamed as they completely surrender and are integrated into the southeastern country, who quickly signs a treaty with Mesopotamia, giving them a decent amount of land, including a major city, in exchange for Mesopotamia not bothering them, basically. And so Mesopotamia will start focusing their troops on the monarchy, and the southeastern state will start focusing their troops on the southwestern state, as the southwestern state is quite weak, and Yemen will actually get involved a little so they can get a little territory out of it, hopefully, including invading into the southeastern territories. But the southwestern country kind of loses its government, and the theocrats all swear their allegiance over to the monarch because they think these guys are heretics, whereas these guys aren't religious at all, which is probably better than heretics, or at least that's what they say. These two colors are very similar in everything, so give me a sec. Okay, these guys have changed up their color because I say so, and I get to decide whether or not they do that, and I say they do. Mesopotamia is still invading into these guys, and we're about meeting up with the Turkish timeline, and this is about the time that Mesopotamia finally signs peace with the monarchy, taking the original city that the monarchy was centered in. And the monarchy will also sign away this land that they had in Yemen, which means that Yemen is now fighting alongside the monarchy against the southeastern country. And here's where Oman gets involved, because they will start an invasion into the southeastern country, who had literally announced to... The southeastern country had announced, hey, Oman, we're going to invade you once we win. And that is exactly why Oman is getting involved. The southeastern country is getting kind of screwed as they lose all of their territory over here, and Yemen gives these guys back territory as promised. However, they're actually starting to be able to defend this city as Yemen kind of stops fighting, and the southwestern government kind of wants to be fine with them. And so now it's just them versus Oman, and they kind of start fighting back until Oman is like, hey, you want to just sign a peace? And these guys are like, sure. They're like in a very defeated way, but still, like, sure. And just like that, we have our 3 new countries, so let's make some ideologies. Okay, and these are the ideologies of the new states. So the Arabian question has been settled, and Mesopotamia is the one who really gained out of it. Back to Turkey, though, as Mesopotamia is ready and willing to start doing whatever it takes, and they actually decide that Russia is going to be a bigger threat than Turkey, obviously, and so they want to invade into Russia, and basically they just say, hey, Russia, if you stop invading in Turkey, we will stop invading you. And Russia doesn't agree to that because they still see this territory as rightfully theirs as they take it. But they are starting to have to fight Mesopotamia, and Mesopotamia is now really officially the second strongest country in the world, and they're not doing half bad against Russia, and Russia will have to take their first embarrassing loss as Mesopotamia twists their arm, basically, as a new Russian leader is kind of inexperienced, so that's kind of why they signed this. But he doesn't want to be fighting a war. He has, like, dreams of how he can restore Russia to greatness and, like, basically improve their economy and do a bunch of social reforms and stuff. And actually, basically what happens is that Russia will become a constitutional monarchy, which I will show west half being democracy, right half being monarchy. That means a constitutional monarchy. And so that's what this guy's whole thing is, and he doesn't really care about Turkey anymore. So now it's the two Turkish sides fighting off against each other, and you might have expected this, you might not have, but the red country is way, 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 way stronger than the gold country. And so the gold country desperately needs Mesopotamian backing in order to have any chance of doing this, because Russia is completely isolationist right now. And Mesopotamia just doesn't care enough about this until the red country starts to get towards their eastern border and basically just marches through Mesopotamia in order to help them in the war. So they're not actually invading Mesopotamia. They even send a messenger saying, we're not invading you, we're just using your territory. But that makes Mesopotamia angry, and so they will start their own invasion into the red country, which is actually into the yellow country, not the red country, but it's the red country who controlled it previously. And the yellow country's king will start basically doing some invasion back, and Mesopotamia will prop them up until the red country is like, shoot, we really shouldn't have done that, and they sign peace. And just like that, we've got some new ideologies, and Turkey has been finished. Sudan actually has a very simple civil war. As I'm saying this, I realize that real life right now, Sudan is going through civil war, so it's kind of fitting. But it's basically just the West. Okay, yeah, so in Sudan, things are going to be very simple in that these guys are going to fight a little bit of a war, but eventually they're going to just sign a truce with each other. And they don't expect it to be permanent, but it ends up being permanent as they just choose capitals and kind of end up being two separate countries. It's interesting because the eastern one is a theocracy, and it's pretty much the old government, whereas the western one is a monarchy, and it actually is the monarchy that collapsed there, so yeah, that's why they were fighting, but eventually they just gave up, and this is the border that happened when they gave up. So you can imagine what the fight would have looked like in your head, but it's not too important what the fight looks like because it doesn't actually influence anything outside of Sudan. And as for Kenya, they've just completely collapsed, and Ethiopia will take great care of their land, and by that I mean they're just going to fully annex most of it, restoring themselves to their pre-revolution borders, as Kenya had been a breakaway from them, and Somalia will also take some of their land. So yeah, we're done with all of the things that collapsed, because I've got some other stuff I want to do. In West Africa, these two new theocracies are going to go to war with each other, like, immediately, as this West African one claims that they are the descendants of West Africa, and they want to restore their old borders and, like, their old legacy from episode 17. And so they are going to invade into this blue country, which we'll just call Blue West Africa. Actually, I'll call them Senegal. I'm going to call the blue country Senegal. Red one is Ghana, so Ghana's invading into Senegal. And Ghana's winning because they're a lot more powerful, but the thing is that Ghana is a lot more scary to everyone than Senegal is, even though Senegal is stronger. But Ghana is the, like, actual successor to West Africa. Yeah. And so Cameroon will basically say, hey, I'm the savior of everyone, I'm stopping West Africa before they can even get started. And they will launch an invasion into Ghana. And they're doing extremely well. We can turn off ideologies. As they almost capture the capital of Ghana before Ghana starts getting pushed back over here. Their army doesn't really know what to do. Their king doesn't, or their theocrat doesn't really know what to do. And before long, there's a rebellion in Ghana, in the west of Ghana, I should say. But West Ghana is a monarchy, and basically they revolted from East Ghana because they thought East Ghana was too weak and not actually fighting well against these guys. And so they will basically start attacking these guys, while West Ghana, or while East Ghana is too weak to even try and stop their rebellion from happening, as most of their military defected over to West Ghana, and they are eventually forced to sign peace with Cameroon. And the peace terms are actually quite generous to West Ghana, or to East Ghana. They're allowed to keep most of their land, including this major city, specifically because they don't want West Ghana to become too powerful. But West Ghana is becoming powerful as they are invading into Senegal. And Senegal, as a theocracy, is not very popular. Like, their entire country is pretty much that religion, but they're just not very popular within their own borders. And there's also this region over here is the wrong religion, and so they will revolt. But it's not just that region, because there's a lot of people where there's a big region where it's like 49% that religion, and that region will also revolt because the oppressed people are way more like care about themselves, like care about the revolt way more than the people who aren't being oppressed do. And these guys want to found a different theocracy under their own religion. And they will start an invasion into Senegal, and Senegal is getting kind of worried, so they basically go to Sahara, and they're like, hey, Sahara, can you help us? You're like a ridiculously large country. And Sahara will try to send troops in to these guys, and the troops will basically mutiny, as Sahara will kind of collapse. But rather than it collapsing into a bunch of countries, it kind of just collapses completely, as all of this land will just kind of fall out of empires, and some of these southern empires will take some of this land, like Nigeria especially will kind of take advantage of this, or Cameroon, not Nigeria, becoming a very powerful country. West Ghana will take some of this land. This new country, I'll call this country Guinea. Guinea will actually take a decent portion of this land. And all of the cities that are here will basically be so destroyed by warfare that they will stop existing. It turns out Sahara was just not powerful enough to actually control this land, so they kind of got reduced to their core territories. As the Sahara kind of goes out of control of any empire, but again, a lot of it is just getting controlled by different countries. So Morocco and Senegal will also take some of this land, as they will sign peace, because these guys would rather take Saharan land than attack Senegal. And the same thing happens with Ghana. So they kind of West Ghana gets a little bit of land because they already had so much territory, but both of them wanted to sign peace with Senegal to take advantage of the green country's collapse. And so West Africa now has 5 countries from 3, as 2 rebellions have happened. Okay, and then these are the ideologies of the new states. But tensions are starting to brew in 2 regions of the world, and this is going to be like kind of leading up to the next episode, which is going to be a very big kind of climactic episode. Europe, tensions are starting to brew between, if you can guess it, Rome and Egypt, as they really don't like each other. I know, big shock, right? They've kind of hated each other ever since the peace treaty at the end of the war against Libya, and Rome gets kind of upset that Egypt got restored. They would have liked to have taken all of Egypt. But because Egypt took their own initiative and rebelled from West Africa, they kind of forced themselves to be restored. They will found an alliance, and in response, Rome will do the same. Okay, so some countries are going to join each of these alliances. So some countries that will join Egypt's alliance include Mesopotamia, Carthage, who hates Rome. They're kind of joining because they hate Rome. Morocco, who's always been allied to Carthage. This new Turkish country, this one, because they're backed by Mesopotamia, so Mesopotamia kind of can force them to do whatever Mesopotamia wants them to do. The monarchic Sudanese country. Croatia, who hates Rome. And a few more countries will join, but I have to show which countries are in the Rome's alliance to explain why they're joining. So, one sec. Okay, so countries that will join Rome's alliance. Okay, countries that will join Rome's alliance So we're starting off with southern France and Spain, both of whom are Rome's closest allies, as well as Albania. And specifically because Western Sudan is in it, Eastern Sudan will join Rome's alliance, and to back them, Ethiopia will join because of the ideological thing. Surprisingly, England will join Rome's alliance, and this Turkish country will join because the other Turkish country is in Egypt's alliance. And then if we go back to Egypt's alliance, Andalusia will join against Spain because they were supposed to get given land here like 200 years ago, and they never got it. By the way, the year is 1392. By the end of this episode, the dictatorship here will join, because they don't like southern France. Ireland will join because they have a feud going with England. Yemen will join because they don't like Ethiopia. And the idea is that Cameroon will not join, and therefore none of the West African countries will join. But a lot of countries are going to end up joining. So Somalia joins because they don't like Ethiopia. Okay, switching back to the Roman alliance, Persia and Central Asia will join the Roman alliance because they don't like Mesopotamia. Western Arabia will join the Roman alliance because they don't like Yemen or Mesopotamia. Scandinavia will join the Roman alliance because they don't like the Netherlands. And same with Finland / Estonia. They don't like the Netherlands. And this creates a conundrum for Russia because they really don't like Estonia, but they really do like Central Asia, and so they don't know which side to join. And so for now, they're going to stay neutral, but probably whichever side Russia joins might win the war just because Russia joined that side. Pakistan will join Egypt's alliance, as will these two countries. And finally, Sahara feels like they have to join an alliance, and given who they're bordering, it feels stupid to join the Roman alliance. They also would like to take this land back, so they're going to join the Egyptian alliance. And just like that, the world, or at least the Western world, is set for war. But so is the Eastern world. As I'm going to put this little white square on any country that will be joining an alliance. And then we'll fill them in as we go, because then it's going to be nicer. So Japan will be joining an alliance. East India will be joining an alliance. These three countries will not be. Vietnam will be joining an alliance in this East Asian war. Yangtze will be. North China will be. South China will be. West China will be. South Burma will be. North Burma will be. West Yangtze won't be. Central Yangtze will be. And I forgot to give them a capital. Yellow River Valley will be. West Yellow River Valley will be. South Manchuria will be. North Manchuria will be. And Mongolia will be. Oh, and the Philippines will be. Indonesia will be staying neutral. And the two main countries that are kind of going to beef with each other. So Japan is obviously going to be one of them. And this war is actually going to start because of Taiwan, which means that the other country is going to be the Philippines, as Japan and the Philippines are kind of hating how the other one has half of Taiwan. So this is actually going to be called the Taiwanese War. Yellow River Valley is going to join the Filipino side because they want to get their land back. For the same reason, Yangtze will join that side. Therefore, Central Yangtze will join the Japanese side. In general, the monarchies will kind of join the Japanese side because they don't like how the theocracies are joining the anti-Japanese side. South Manchuria will join the Filipino side, as will Mongolia. North Manchuria, in a surprise twist against Japan, will also join the Filipino side. Vietnam, kind of expectedly, will join the Japanese side. South China will join the Filipino side. West China will join the Japanese side. Both North and South Burma will join the Filipino side. North India will join the Japanese side, but East India will join the Filipino side. So that is the side set for that war. And this war is actually going to be the first to break out, as the Philippines will declare that Taiwan is their country rightfully, and they will begin an invasion into Taiwan, leading the Japanese alliance to declare war on them. Meanwhile, over here, Egypt will declare that this Roman colony is illegal, and they will start an invasion of the Roman colony, leading the Roman alliance to declare war on them. And just like that, 2 giant wars have started, one in the west and one in the east, and I will see you next time as we go into those wars. Thank you, and bye.